So I want to begin just by kind of giving an overview of what this Math Tools 3 course is going to be about. So this is important because if you've looked at the description for like past semesters or looked at the video list for past semesters, this course has been overhauled quite a bit. So we cut out a lot of the content that we did in previous semesters, and we have added in a little bit of different content instead. But overall, we've really cut it down quite a bit, from about 24 days worth of material to 19 days worth of material, just to kind of let some of it breathe more, and not be rushing through it, and just focusing on the more important things. So generally, this is going to mostly focus on what you would normally find in a multivariable calculus course. But we're really going to focus on the things that are specific to statistics, and statistics related classes like probability. So generally, from about day 1 to day 3, we're going to cover, I have my list pulled up here. I'm just looking at it. Day 1 to day 3, we're going to cover vectors. So vectors are a very important mathematical object. If you studied matrices, they're basically like n by one dimensional matrices. So they're like a special type of matrix, basically. So they work in kind of the same sense as matrices do. So we're going to look at that. Vectors, what they are, having a function of vectors, a vector function, and how we do calculus with that. And there's a lot more you can go into on this, but that's kind of the part of the course that we've cut down a lot, because there's just a lot of it that doesn't really pop up in statistics. It's more oriented towards something like physics. So we're just going to keep, to that one just to a few days here. So the bulk of our class will be spent on from day 4 all the way to, I believe it's day 15. Yeah. Is going to be spent on functions of several variables. Okay. So in the previous Math Tools course, or in a single variable calculus course, if you've taken it elsewhere, it does just that. It focuses on functions of a single variable, hence why it's called single variable calculus. So we'd always look at functions like f of x, for example, where x is the variable. Now we're going to open that up into what if we have multiple variables. Very important idea in statistics, because in statistics, we often have many independent variables, not just one. Anytime you're doing like a multiple regression, right, you have several variables there. So we need to know how to handle these types of functions and how to do calculus with these types of functions. Because that'll allow us to do things like, how do you come up with that multiple regression formula, for example, or just things like that. So, and then the last few days, this is the part that we've kind of added into the course new. So if you look at like the old Khan Academy video list or anything like that, you won't see any of this on here. This is what I would call an introduction to proofs. Okay. So once you get to a high enough level in math, basically after like the calculus sequence, maybe a couple courses after that, you get to this part of math where you really stop focusing on doing calculations like we have been, like where we're calculating integrals, calculating derivatives, and you kind of shift your focus towards, okay, how do we know that these things are true? How do we actually prove that these things are true? Statistics, it still does, it still obviously, you need that computation part quite a bit because we're often working with real data. But in the probability theory and statistical theory classes, you will focus a bit on actually proving that statements are true, right? Hence the theory part of the classes. And you'll do some calculations too. but this part is still important. So we're going to kind of cover the basics there. If you're looking for like what kind of an equivalent class would be, this is usually called like Introduction to Higher Math or something. That's what it's called here at U of L anyway. So like Math 311 here, if you just kind of want to get an idea for the kind of stuff we'll be covering, but basically just like basic logic. How do we dissect like statements? How do we know things are true or negate them and things like that? And then the different types of proofs, the strategies we can use for proving statements are true, proving theorems. If you open up any math textbook, right, it's going to have a theorem, and then after the theorem will be a proof. So how do you generally go about doing proofs in that way? Or how do you read those proofs? And then we're also going to look a bit at sets. Okay. Probability theory deals a lot with sets because you're usually finding the probability of a subset. So it's very important in the probability theory specifically. So we're not going to get very deep into any one of these. We're just kind of going to go over like the basics of a whole bunch of different techniques. So the bulk of the class will be on the functions of several variables part. We didn't really cut out much of that part from previous semesters. So yeah, and then the vector stuff will kind of pop up in the functions of several variables stuff at various points as well. Like they do have a lot of overlap there. So yeah. So that will be Math Tools 3. So again, I just wanted to mention it because, I know that there's the old list of the Khan Academy videos, or not just Khan Academy. This class used a bunch of different places because Khan Academy I don't think covered everything. But regardless, we're going to be doing quite a bit of different material from the previous semesters.